Well, one of the things that that people have expressed as a potential issue is you're 29 years old. What's your response to being 29?
Yeah, that's a fair question, and certainly one of the, I think, the top concerns that I hear, and one of my opponent, both in this campaign and the primary campaign, raised on several occasions. And to that I say, it's not how many years you've been around, it's what you've done with them. And one of the keys to my success is just making the most out of every day. Not taking a single day for granted. I have very high ambitions, and I work hard every day to achieve those goals. I've done a lot in a short amount of time. I've worked hard to graduate from one of the top universities in the world. I went right into my first job, skipping at entry level, going in, initially over my head, but really working hard and doing what I can to really prove myself. And throughout the years, I think I have proven myself, and I've done a lot. I've become one of the youngest, I believe the youngest vice president at Webster Bank. So, I've certainly proven myself in a shorter period of time, and I've accomplished a lot over the past 10 years, And I bring a sense of perspective to it, because I've worked in so many different capacities. I've traveled around the world. I have the formal education, but a lot of real world experience too. So, it's easy to look at 29 as a number and say that's too young, but I think I've done a lot with it, and more, frankly, than my opponent's done in 60 years.
You're saying he's old. Let's continue on the tough questions.
Sure.
The other issue that people have brought up is that you've been in Cromwell a relatively short time. Mm-hmm. What do you think about that? Well,
I think the problems that we face in Cromwell are nothing new. There's nothing unique about our situation that other towns haven't already faced. And I think what I bring is a sense of perspective, because I've lived within Connecticut for just about my entire life. I was born here. I went away to college, and I worked for California briefly for IBM. But other than that, the rest of my life, the other 23 years of it, have been spent in Connecticut and in this area too. My whole family's from Middletown, so I don't think anything gets drastically different once you cross that border. So I think what I bring is a sense of perspective and an understanding of the needs that Cromwell has, and an idea of what's been done, best practices from other communities. I constantly point to Middletown with the downtown area. I've seen what they've done with their main street and say, why can't we do that here in Cromwell? So what I bring is a sense of perspective and understanding of real world solutions that have worked elsewhere in Connecticut.
Very good. When you first thought about running, you must have had an idea of what it would take, what the experience would be like. How has it matched up to what your expectations were? How's it going?
Well, I've been involved a lot in state and national elections, so that's where all the excitement is. And I always thought municipal elections, they're boring.
Yeah, sometimes they are.
I'm trying to think how old I was before I voted. I think I was about 21 before I really took on interest. I was away at college, right. So you don't really follow what's going on in your hometown. You'd vote for the governor, you'd vote for president, and you don't really see what goes on. But as you take on more responsibilities, as you see the issues and how they affect you on a personal level, particularly as a homeowner, you take a greater and greater interest in. So, I went into the process really not knowing what to expect. You see what happens in some of the town committee meetings, so you have some expectation of what could go on. But I never thought it would be as chaotic as it's been, and it's really been. It seems surreal. In fact, I was so surprised by how insane the whole process can be, even within working within your party. I took down notes. I have a little composition notebook, and I said, this is unreal. And so I actually take notes of things, because if I don't write it down, I'm apt to forget it, and people wouldn't believe me. So
like a journal? You do a journal?
I keep a journal,
yeah,
and serious. I figure, if things don't work out, I could always write a story about it. A whole book on municipal elections and how wild and crazy the whole process can be. So there's only a little over a week to go. I'm exhausted. I've been working really. It's just been a tremendous amount of work.
Of course.
I knew it'd be a lot of work, but. Until you get out there and really get into it, it's hard to imagine it would be this difficult. And there's an end in sight, though, so I'm looking forward to the day after election and having some time to relax and reflect upon what's been a really long process, probably 8 months I've been involved now.
Yeah, yeah. Well, keeping with that in mind, when you do win, November 6th, and it's your first day, you come into the big office, what do you think is going to be your top priorities? Let's start out day one. It's other than getting to know the people. I mean, you have a whole transition period, period. I mean, there's a big, but you must have an idea, okay, well, first thing I'm going to attack is what?
Okay, well, one of the things I've seen is that with the whole bureaucratic process, there's a lot of red tape. In order to get anything going, it's going to take several months. And with that in mind, I'm going to be ready to go on day one. As I said before, I don't take anything for granted. I'm going to give it my all, starting 8 o'clock Monday morning or whenever it is that I start, and really get right to work at putting my plan into place. I've been doing a lot of work behind the scenes, just trying to plan out exactly what I'm going to do, and I'm going to start pushing some of these top initiatives through, starting at the very beginning. Because what I've seen with the current administration is for about 2 years nothing got done. Right. It wasn't until election time that you start to see some of these projects that everybody wants start to work its way through the system. So I'm going to get started on day one, probably because, getting back to what we're just talking about, how long and difficult this whole process is, that I want to accomplish a lot, so I have something to point to, so I don't have to spend 8 months trying to defend myself as an incumbent. And I have a record of real results to point to, have something to show for these 2 years.
Yeah.
And frankly, I want to have something to show for. I'm giving up a lot to do this. It's going to be a lot of hard work. It's going to be difficult to try to bring everybody together, achieve common goals, and I really want to get something done. So starting day one, I'm going to get right to work on executing my plan.
That's excellent. Excellent vision, excellent passion. That's very good. That's very good, because you have a really, have a lot of valid points there. Amongst them, it's only a 2-year term, and it's like, you got to start from day one in order to get it, be effective for 2 years, because most projects are long, as you know. So
yeah, I'm going to try to get a lot on the agenda for the very first meeting, knowing that you have this whole process that you have to go through, and by the time something gets implemented, it could take several months. So with that in mind, starting at the very first Board of Selectmen meeting, I'm going to have a lot on the agenda. Some I think what are high priority items that we should address immediately.
Very good, very good. All right, so you've been going door to door. You've met a lot of people in town. First of all, it's been fun. And what's the general reaction about it? What's the feel you got there? You feel momentum going there?
Well, initially a lot of people didn't know me.
Right.
With the primary, though, I was able to get a lot of exposure. We did some mailings. In the early going, like prior to the caucus, it was just me going up to people cold and them looking out the door and wondering if I'm a salesman. What is he selling?
Full of brush.
I had a clipboard with me. Some people would look out the door and then not answer it. But now they recognize me because I've been in the papers. I've sent out flyers. I've made phone calls. We've had a lot of exposure. So now going around, the reception's been much more warm and open. And I think people, even in the early stages, were very receptive to change. They look around and they see how Cromwell's fallen behind what similar towns have been able to accomplish, and they see that they have little to show for their tax dollars, and they see a real need for change. They've seen what's largely been a stagnant, unimaginative, and partisan government, and they expect more, and they deserve it. So they see me as someone who doesn't have any connections to town hall, doesn't have a personal agenda other than doing what's right for the community, and they're very encouraged by it. So it's been a very positive response, and I think the more people I could get to, and I've been to a lot of people, probably maybe 1,000 doors I've knocked on, but I was really hoping for 2,000. I'm going to give it my all this next couple of weeks or week and a half. I have a leave of absence, so I'm going to get out there and try to meet as many people as possible, because I know that if I meet with them face to face and make that connection, that I could have their support.
Yeah.